Happy Monday, everybody. I hope you're having a good day today so far, and I hope you had a good weekend. I know it was Halloween on Sunday, and while I don't celebrate Halloween, I know some people do. I know some people do it all in good fun. Um, so if you do celebrate Halloween, I hope your kids had a good time. Don't feed them too much candy. Um, but it was just another regular day for me. Like I said, I've taken my kids trick or treating maybe two or three times over the years, but it's not we don't celebrate it, and I've not taken them trick or treating in years for that specific reason. If they want candy, we'll go and buy it. But I feel like it's too dangerous these days to do it unless you're going to houses of people that you know and that you trust, which is always what I've done. When we would go trick or treating in our neighborhood, we would hit the houses where we knew the people, we trusted the people, check the candy anyway, just to be sure. You just never know. So hopefully you were safe and everything was fine. I had a good weekend. I got to see an old friend that I hadn't seen in 11 years. My, how the time flies. And you know, when you have those friends that you don't see them for a really long time, but when you do see them, you just kind of slide right back into where you left off, and it's as if there was never this huge gap of time where you weren't hanging out and seeing each other all the time. And those are some of the best friends to have, where it's never awkward after seeing them, for a long period of time. And so it was a good day. I think we hung out for 3.5 hours. So it was nice. And that time went by so fast as well. And, but it was really nice to get to see him. And, we've been friends since high school. And since he doesn't live locally, don't really get to see him. But it was really nice. And I really enjoyed the time. And it made for a really good weekend. All right. I have a lot to get into. So let's just go ahead and get started. We'll read our daily promise. And it says, He brought them out of darkness and the shadow of death and brake their bands in sunder. Psalm 107:14. In the same way that God delivered his people in times of the Old Testament and broke their chains, he also delivers his people in the age of the church. For those whom God has saved, they have been eternally liberated from their enslavement to sin. Somebody asked on one of the Facebook groups that I'm in, what do you do when you are found yourself in a time of temptation, and they wanted to know why God would tempt somebody. um and I can't remember exactly what they said, but the thing is, God does not lead us to temptation. He does allow temptation to occur, and that's only to test your faithfulness. So when you're faced with temptation, there's always a means of escape. You do not have to follow through with it. God provides a way for you to move away from following through with that temptation. But sometimes he allows the devil to tempt you to see if you are strong and faithful enough to push that temptation away and overcome it and move forward on your path. And sometimes we fail miserably, but the more you're tested and the more you overcome those temptations, the stronger your faith will be as a Christian. So, it may be horrible when you fail, but just try not to fail the next time. Just always strive to do better. Okay, so I want to talk about Loudoun County real quick. Um, First of all, Steven Crowder, y'all know that I watch Steven Crowder. Um, he brought up the reason on his show of why are they always referring in the media to this boy that raped the girl, boy in a skirt? Why are they always saying that? So I just want to look at his show notes here. It's just really quick, and then we're going to look at the article of what has happened since. But because of this incident, there is a video, and you can find, like I said, I don't like to play videos because they always get claimed on my channel. But you can find a video, and it's an Iranian dad, and he was mad at the Loudoun County School Board because they did cover up the rape. And then on Tuesday, the rapist, he was found guilty on one count of forcible sodomy and one count of forcible fellatio, which we're going to look at that in the other article. And then multiple media outlets have reported the boy identifies as gender fluid, and they continually call him boy in a skirt, right? So during the trial, the female victim did testify that she had consensual sex with the defendant twice before her rape. However, this instance was different because she said no and was thrown to the ground and assaulted. So here's the thing: she consented to sex with him twice. You're 14, you shouldn't be having sex. But it is what it is. She consented twice. This time she said no. And it could have been no because she just didn't want to have sex at all with him anymore. Or it could have been no because you're on school stinking property. And if she consented and y'all got caught, y'all would be in so much trouble. But now he's in so much more trouble because he forced her anyway. So he, it would seem, took, even though she said no, felt like he had a right because she had consented before. Well, you've had sex with me before, so I have the right to have sex with you again, even if you say no. And I don't know if that's what it is, but it would seem, for a 14-year-old. My question is, what kind of life and what kind of what kind of environment was this kid raised in that at 14, these are his actions and behaviors, and he believes that it was okay? He was not at all hesitant in doing this. Why? It's very strange to me. He obviously does not have a good home environment. That would lead me to believe. He doesn't have good parents. Good parents would teach their kids that it's never okay to do that to a woman or to a guy, doesn't matter. It's never okay. And this may not have happened if he had actually had better parents. Now, this article here is from AmericanFaith.com. So he was found guilty. He was convicted on all charges related to the case, which attracted national attention and has led to trans bathroom bills and the safety of children in schools becoming focal points of the state's gubernatorial election. According to local media reports, the conviction came after a juvenile court judge determined that evidence backed up claims that the 14-year-old gender-fluid male had forcibly raped a female student in a girls' restroom at Loudoun Stonebridge High School. And they did a rape kit and they matched the DNA, so it's irrefutable proof that he actually did do this to her. And we know that the assault took place in May. The focus of national attention regarding critical race theory and other radicalized education materials in the classroom. This also took place during Pride Month, which would explain why the school board covered it up, because it was a boy who is part of the LGBTQ movement, and they didn't want to ruin their transgender policies that they were trying to put in place in the school, or that they had already put in place in the school. Now, I know that people are asking, why do they continually call him a boy in a skirt? I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why they're not calling him a trans woman. They're referring to him as a boy in a skirt because then it alleviates the responsibility of them to say that it was a transgender and that their transgender policies to allow boys that say they're girls to use a girls' restroom is what led to this incident. So, oh, he's not trans, so it has nothing to do with this transgender policy we put in place. He's just a boy who wears girls' clothing. And I think that's why they refer to him as a boy in a skirt. So that trans and transgender is not connected to the case at all. The school district officials have been accused of covering up the rapes, and it even directed deputies from the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office to arrest Scott Smith, the father of the Stonebridge High School victim, when he showed up to a county school board meeting looking for answers. The arrest left Smith bloodied, facing charges of disorderly conduct, and his image was used by left-wing media outlets nationwide to paint a concerned father as some sort of domestic terrorist and warn parents against fighting for their children. Worse, recent revelations from the emails of Loudoun County Public Schools Superintendent Scott Ziegler show that the official lied to parents when confronted about the sexual assaults at a June school board meeting. At the time, Ziegler told the parents that he had no knowledge of any assaults happening in the district. Meanwhile, an email Ziegler sent to members of the school board reveals the opposite, as he informed board members of the Stonebridge assault and told them that it was under investigation by the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office. In the aftermath of the rapes, Beth Bart, a far left member of the Loudoun County School Board, resigned her post amid a massive recall effort for her seat. Parents and taxpayers around Loudoun County have called for the resignation or recall of virtually all board members, as well as Superintendent Scott Ziegler, linking their dissatisfaction with the county schools to not only the rapes but the widely publicized use of critical race theory and other far left curricula. The situation in Loudoun County has energized parents and voters all over the Commonwealth, bolstering the efforts of Republican gubernatorial candidate Glenn Youngkin, who has now made banning critical race theory, safeguarding parental rights, and protecting children in schools focal points of his campaign. The Democrat candidate Terry McAuliffe has instead pledged to remove parents from all discussions surrounding education of Virginia children. Yeah, I've been saying this too. Get your kids out of school. Pull them out of public school. That's the best thing you can do for your kids. If you cannot, then you must fight for your kids. Because what these school board members failed to recognize is that it is the public education system. It is owned by the public. You, the parents, recognize the power that you have as the people and take it back and get rid of these radical leftist pedophilic lunatics. Get rid of them. Is a left wing agenda more important than the safety of your children, even if you're on the left? Is being woke and progressive more important to you than making sure your child is safe and secure when they attend school? If it is, I feel sorry for your children. Now, let me see here. I want to just do really quickly about the Timberview High School shooting.
It's already been 2 weeks since that shooting.
You've already heard about it, but there is no evidence of bullying. They said that he did this because he was being bullied because he has nice clothes and money and a nice car. Um, I've seen bullying happen while I was in school, and I never saw people with a lot of money, nice clothes, nice cars getting bullied. They tended to be the bullies, just so you know. Okay, so 4 people were injured in the shooting. Suspect faces multiple charges of aggravated assault with the gun. They have taken steps to improve security within the district. They are adding more police on campus, training more staff and helping with security measures, adding random classroom checks using metal detector wands, and reestablishing its school safety committee. Some parents express frustration that the district has not done more to protect students, while others praise the district for their efforts and response. Arlington's police chief briefed those in attendance about the ongoing police investigation. Chief Al Jones said they found no evidence that the suspect was bullied. Quote, "We can't and we won't say that there was any evidence of bullying that day or any other day. I also want to say with certainty that Mr. Simpkins is involved in high-risk activity, and that high-risk activity led to the disagreement within the community." Mansfield ISD has posted more about the response and resources for those impacted on their website. High risk activity. That would tell me maybe he's dealing drugs. Maybe he was buying drugs and didn't have the money to pay for them. Maybe he owed somebody money. So, and like I said, if you watch that video, clear as day, he was the aggressor in the video and not the one being beat. But I just wanted to point that out, that in case you haven't heard, there is no evidence of bullying. Now, quickly, let's talk about, let me shut some of these tabs so I don't get confused. Let's talk about real quick how Biden wants to destroy the suburbs. Like, sometimes I hear stuff on Steven Crowder and I'm like, man, I didn't even know about this stuff. Or, wow, he explains that really well. Let me just go look at his show notes and just translate. Because I know there's some people that don't watch Steven Crowder because maybe they don't like the way he does his show. So I'll share some information. So, this is what Biden has planned for your suburbs. And they explain here why we need to be concerned. And they also get into the liberal lies being told about the gas prices. And is the Great Reset a conspiracy? Not quite. Now, I've been telling you, I've known about the Great Reset, also known as the New World Order, since forever when I was able to read the Bible. The Bible in Revelation clearly depicts the New World Order, the one world government, globalization. That is the end product. It may happen in a year, it may happen in 20 years. I don't know, but I've always known that it was going to happen. And we are seeing it gradually be set up to turn to that unless the people take back the power and put a stop to it. That's the thing I don't get. The citizens need to realize we hold the power. We are the ones in control. We just have to take that control and use it. Stop letting the government dictate how we're going to live our lives. It's not their place. It is not their job. It is not their right. And because we have freely handed over this power because of being scared that we would get sick, that's a dumb reason to hand over your power. Safety is not more important than liberty. I can promise you that. Just look at the Patriot Act after 9/11. It is not more important than your freedoms and liberty. Okay, now, yesterday on CNN, so this would have been 2 days ago, 3 days ago, Al Franken admitted that gas is going to get more expensive, but if the bill passes, more basic things will be affordable. So we're going to look at gas prices in the US versus Europe. So in the US, the average is $3.39 a gallon. The UK is $7.44 a gallon. Norway, $8.55 a gallon. Germany, $7.38, and France, $7.23. Now, fortunately, ours is cheaper. Fortunately. But I think it's going to go up for sure. I think we're going to, well, in California, I know just regular unleaded gas, I saw a picture was for $5.99. And I think in Texas, we may reach the almost $5 mark, maybe 4.58, 4.59, something like that, I bet. We have the highest income tax rates. So in the US, 37% for $500,000 plus. In the UK, 45% for $200,000 or more. Germany is 45% for 318,000 or more, and France is 45 for 185,000 or more. Now, if you think this is a conspiracy, the World Economic Forum already has it all planned out. Now, let me tell you why the Biden's HUD order sucks. So the setup is Biden's made fair housing a crux of his campaign and presidency, and he's doing this by reinstating Obama's affirmatively furthering fair housing agreement. The rule would federalize all suburban zoning regulations. Biden's rule is even worse than Obama's because it forces local government to comply by withholding transportation funds like those used to repair highways, right? Then you have the crime rates. So, a HUD or Urban Institute study found the following about people who used public housing relocation vouchers in Chicago. Perpetrators, 2.4 times more likely to be arrested for property crime and 2.5 times more likely to be arrested for violent crime. And then victims are 1.1 times more likely to be victim of property crime and 1.8 times more likely to be victim of violent crime. And a Texas A&M study on Section 8 housing voucher relocations found that in Houston, there was a 95% increase in the probability of being arrested for violent crime. Now, your property value. So, the HUD Urban Institute study found in Denver, the public housing site in the highest value, overwhelmingly white occupied neighborhood apparently had a negative effect on house prices. Of course it did, because you're bringing low income people into a probably middle class suburban area. And I hate to say it, but the low income communities tend to have more crimes in it. And so when you move that there and then you're bringing them from that location to this location, you're going to institute crime in an area that may not have very much crime in the first place. So, a UPenn study found that property values in Portland were highest the furthest away from public housing. Yes, it makes total sense. It's just how it is. And I'm not saying people on public housing, that all of them are criminals or bad people. Of course, they're not. Some people have fallen on hard times. Some couples get divorced and the mother is left with children by herself and needs help. I get it. I've been in that situation. Now, I didn't qualify for public housing, but um, in fact, when I did apply for it, because I had two kids and I didn't have a job because I was a stay-at-home mom. So I was jobless at the time he left me, and I was actively looking for a job. But I had two kids. I was doing college classes online at TCC, didn't have a job, and was living with family members in their apartment, which I wasn't even allowed to be staying in because it was too many people and I wasn't on the lease. And I was still number 4,800 on the list. So there you go. This is all being done under the guise of diversity and equity. So it would seem to me that they want to put some public housing in maybe some nice suburban areas to give the people who can't afford to live in these nice suburban areas the same opportunity to live there as the people who actually worked to get there. Maybe they worked and saved money and just saved and then purchased this house that they've been wanting to get their own house for a really long time. They finally had enough and they earned it. But you're going to take people who don't earn it, who are probably abusing the system in the first place, and put them somewhere where they would most likely not be able to afford to live without the government putting them there. It's a bad idea. Anyway, so I just wanted to cover that really quickly. Um, I know I'm going really fast, but I just had so much that I wanted to talk about. So let me close this out. Now, let's talk about Biden considering to pay illegal immigrants $450,000 each in reparations before black people that are American citizens. Where's Black Lives Matter on this one? Because they were the ones demanding reparations, were they not? You're going to pay people that illegally crossed the border almost $500,000 and just let your citizens suffer under the crushing weight of an economic recession. Good job. Good job. So this is from Tatum Report. Biden is reportedly considering a reparation-style payout for illegal immigrants denied entry to the U.S. under former President Trump's Remain in Mexico policy. Illegal immigrants will be given about $450,000 in this plan to heal relationships hurt by the zero-tolerance strategy. A summary by Breitbart News details the original reporting from the Wall Street Journal over Biden's plan to offer money to immigrant families separated during the Trump administration. The program currently entitles around $450,000 a person that could amount to close to $1 million per family. That is ridiculous. So somebody commits a crime, you had to separate the parents from the children because they're in effect being arrested for committing a crime, but then you're going to pay them for committing the crime. So you're going to start paying all the criminals that are American citizens when you arrest them and take them from their families and put them in jail? You're going to start giving them money to heal their relationships hurt by the laws that are being enforced because they broke a law? Are you going to do that? No, you're not. This is all to garner votes from the illegal immigrants, which is why they wanted to give them mass amnesty so they could legally vote. Because if they get caught cheating, all hell's going to break loose. And I think we're keeping a very close eye on this one. In another, this is from the Wall Street Journal. In another instance, A Department of Homeland Security attorney involved in the settlement talks complained on a conference call that the payouts could amount to more than some families of 9/11 victims received, one person said. Other people said senior department officials were in alignment on the amount and disputed the 9/11 comparison, given that the U.S. government hadn't been responsible for the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks. The 9/11 Victim Compensation Fund averaged awards to the dead of around $2 million tax free, at the time an unprecedented payout, the administrator of the fund has said. And then not only that, but they're getting more money than even taking care of our veterans who fought to give us our freedoms here in America. This is nuts that you are going to take care of people who don't even belong to this country, that broke the law, while letting your citizens suffer. And if this doesn't wake up the people to how corrupt and disgusting this administration is, then I doubt there's any hope for them to ever wake up and see what's really happening around them. I truly, truly doubt it. This should enrage every single American citizen that the Biden administration is considering doing this. Senator Tom Cotton told Breitbart Biden's plan to pay illegal immigrants is insulting to Americans. He said, quote, "It would be unthinkable to pay damages to a burglar who broke into your home for the psychological trauma they endured during the crime. And yet, the Biden admin wants to reward migrants who illegally entered our country with up to $450,000 each for just that reason." Senator Cotton called the new Biden plan the height of insanity as the number of migrants attempting to access America through our southern border grows. The Biden administration's promises of citizenship and entitlement programs have already caused the worst border crisis in history. A huge cash reward will make it even worse. The report indicates the lawyers for the illegal immigrants seeking taxpayer compensation have asked for $3.4 million per family. All right, one more story before I decide to take a break. Um, the White House released a cartoon depicting a dystopian plan for the federal government's new role in the family. This is also from the Tatum Report. I happened upon this when I was looking at the immigrant thing. The White House released a new graphic series depicting the federal government's role in the family life of a single American mother. Biden plans to have what Charlie Spring calls a cradle to grave role in the life of every American. Quote, Linda is a working mother. Oh, okay, so this is, I guess, examples. Linda is a working mother in Peoria, Illinois. She works at a local manufacturing facility as a production worker and earns $40,000 per year. She is pregnant with her son, Leo. Once Leo is born, Linda begins receiving child tax credits of $300 per month. That's $3,600 annually to help cover essential costs like groceries, rent, and medicine. Are they not doing this already? I'm pretty sure they are. As Leo grows up, the government helps cover the costs for his daycare, guaranteeing that Linda doesn't need to pay more than 7% of her income on childcare. So let's take a look at this. So here's the cartoon, right? And if you're a blind viewer, you can go look up on the video. So this is ridiculous. Just let me tell you. Because who's going to pay for this? We are. We are paying for this. When Leo turns 3, he attends a high quality pre K program for free. Do you see? They want your kids in school under government control. They want them there for as long as possible so that they can indoctrinate them. That's exactly what they want. The first 3 graphics show Biden sees the federal government as the only substitute for having a strong male figure in the home. Instead of a father, Leo has the federal government, daddy government. Each slide shows how Biden's Build Back Better plan will lift Linda and her son Leo out of poverty. However, as we saw from Lyndon B. Johnson's Great Society, the American form of socialist programs might improve the immediate needs of American living in poverty, but it does little, if anything, to bring them out of poverty. That's true. It's so true. It does not help. I promise you. It doesn't help. What it leaves is leaves them in a perpetual state of dependency on daddy government, which obviously that's what they want. They want us dependent on them and not being able to do anything for ourselves. That is the goal of the globalization, New World Order, Great Reset from the World Economic Forum. That's where it ends. And if you look at everything that's going on and you just follow the trail, it all leads back to government is in control of everything, and we are now authoritarian, totalitarian, a dictatorship, whatever you want to call it, communism. That's where it's going to lead. I watched a video that John Doyle did, and he talked about how the decline of America started when the citizens lost unity. We used to be united under the American flag, and we all were patriots of the country. And then it started to deteriorate when we started thinking about just the individual, how individualism is, the most important thing about society. Now, like you said, you have individual rights. That is different. But you're not an individual because you are, someone is dependent on you in one way or another. You're not alone. You're not completely by yourself. So you're not an individual. And when you focus mainly on individuality, individualism, that ultimately leads to collectivism, which is where they're collecting us all in groups: LGBTQ, the black community, Hispanic community, the white bigoted racist community. And that's where it ends up leading. And that's what we're seeing. And the only thing we have in common now as citizens of America is that we have nothing in common at all. It's a good video. Go check it out. We'll be right back. Okay, so there's something going on in Illinois right now, and the Senate voted to repeal abortion notification law for minors. This is also from the Tatum Report. I encourage you, if you want to know what's going on, it's sports, pop culture, law enforcement, whatever, check out TatumReport.com because he has a lot of good stories. They're really good journalists there. So, the Illinois Senate voted to repeal a law requiring parents or guardians of a minor receiving an abortion to be notified. The lawmakers voted 32 to 22, with 4 Democrats voting against it and 5 Democrats abstaining. The Republicans all voted against the proposal. The governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, is in favor of the bill's passage. Now that the Senate has voted, the bill moves to the Democrat controlled House, awaiting its uncertain fate. The current law mandates that minors inform their parent or guardian within 48 hours of the abortion, but does not require parental consent. If minors fear for their safety, they can request a court to waive the notification requirement. GOP Senator Jill Tracy called the proposal illogical and part of Pritzker's radical agenda. During a news conference before the vote, Tracy said, quote, "Of all the human relationships, there's none stronger than a relationship between parent and a child, and certainly while it lasts an entire lifetime, there is no better time and critical event in the minor years that child needs nurturing and support and counseling from their parents." End quote. She also added that this was just another way for the state to create more wedges between parent and child. Democrat Senator L.G. Sims responded, quote, "One of the most detrimental laws that are currently on our books impacting young women is parental notification of abortion." End quote. The senator said she had a conversation about this law with her daughters and their friends. Sims asked the kids how they felt about the law, to which they responded, "Those young women," to a person, "said to me, 'I have my own mind, let me decide.'" Opponents of the current law also say most teen girls have good relationships with their parents, but notification is a hindrance to those who live in abusive environments and are intimidated by an alternative process, pleading their case to a judge. Republicans pushed back, noting a poll that was conducted in Illinois last spring. 75% of the respondents favored the notification law, while 50,000 notices of opposition to the legislation were sent in electronically before the vote. Republicans initially proposed the notification law in 1995, but it didn't go into effect until 2013 due to legal challenges. Since 2013, only one judge has denied a teen girl access to an abortion. Um, yeah, so clearly what the government wants to do is they want to turn your child against you. They don't want parents to be responsible for their children. The government thinks that your children belong to the state, to the government. They think your children belong to them, which is why they want them in school from 3 years old till they're 23, 24. They are not. They don't own them. They are your kids. God saw fit to bless you with your children, and it is your responsibility to take care of them, raise them, protect them, feed them, teach them, encourage them, and love them. That's your job. And if you let the state take over that, you'll regret it forever. Um, no girl should be going in to get an abortion without her parents knowing. Look, I lived at home when I got pregnant with my first child. I was 19. I was so scared to tell my dad. Not because he's abusive, not because I thought he would hit me, because I was scared of disappointing him. That's why I was scared. And I wrote him a letter and I gave it to him. He read it out in the garage. He was very angry, but it was a disappointed anger. He was disappointed that I would have been so careless to get pregnant when I just started college. I was only 19. I wasn't married. He was disappointed. And yes, he yelled at me for a minute. But you know what? He got over it. We moved on. And he loves all my kids equally. He loves his grandkids unconditionally. And, sometimes you just have to buck up and tell them. And parents have a right to know if their minor is getting an abortion, especially because if something happened, because things have been known to go wrong during abortion procedures. Just saying, a parent has a right to know that. And for anybody to think that a child should be able to go and just do whatever they want without parental consent, clearly either they're a terrible parent themselves or they don't even have children at all. And they probably never should. Now, Florida human trafficking sting results in over 100 arrests. So, Florida's Polk County Sheriff's Office conducted a special investigation called Operation No Tricks, No Treats that resulted in the arrest of 102 people over 6 days, including 2 child predators. The operation began on October 20th, 2021, with officers from the Auburndale, Haines City, Lake Hamilton, Lake Wales, and Lakeland Police Department taking part in the sting. Meetings between undercover detectives and suspects were arranged through internet advertisements. Agents met with the individuals at a secret location in Polk County. Sheriff Grady Judd explained, quote, "The primary purpose for these operations is to identify victims of human trafficking and those who prey on the victims, as well as the deviant child predators who stalk children online. We work hand in hand with organizations to get help for the victims of human trafficking. We identified 3 possible victims during this investigation." End quote. Of the 102 arrested, 39 were arrested for offering to commit prostitution. 2 of them are possible victims of human trafficking and will not be charged with the crime if they cooperate with authorities. A third victim, a juvenile, was not arrested as she is also believed to be a victim of human trafficking. Another 61 were arrested for soliciting prostitution, 5 of whom had already been arrested for the same. 2 child predators were also caught. Donald Spencer, 64, of Mulberry, was arrested after thinking he was chatting online with a 14-year-old girl. Though he had suspicions that it might be a police sting, his atrocious need to be with the child prevented him from making the wise choice to walk away. The sheriff's statement read, "Upon his arrest, he told detectives that he had made a bad decision. He was charged with traveling to meet a minor after use of a computer to seduce a child and attempted lewd battery." The second child predator is a 27-year-old man by the name of Theodore Ryan Jones. Jones believed he was communicating online with a 13-year-old girl. He used a stuffed Pikachu as a lure to draw her in. During a press conference, Judd said, "We had to rescue Pikachu from that nasty environment." Judd added, "He was seeking children on social media sites. He was transmitting nude photographs of himself to what he believed to be a 13-year-old child. He said very nasty things to this 13-year-old child to go along with the very ugly, vile, nude photographs that he sent." Jones was arrested and taken into custody in Disney Springs, where he works as a cook. He was charged with the use of a computer to seduce a child, 2 counts transmission of material harmful to a minor, and use of a two-way communication device to commit a felony. And I guess this is the picture of the people that were arrested, the one seeking the prostitute, the one to offer to commit prostitution, and then the two child say, why do they always look like that? Like when you look at child predators, they just have this look of evil to them. It's like they have no souls almost. Like they're just evil people. Alrighty. Let's talk really quickly about Governor Cuomo, possibly going to be charged and arrested for allegedly groping his former aide. About time someone pays um, a price and being held accountable for their actions. So this is from blackchristiannews.com. Let's see who wrote it. I don't think it shows who wrote it. Anyway, disgraced ex-governor Andrew Cuomo is expected to be arrested next week and charged with a misdemeanor in the alleged groping of a former aide, the Post has learned. The anticipated charge is the result of a probe by Albany County District Attorney David Soares. A source briefed in the matter said Thursday. A spokesman for the State Office of Court Administration confirmed that a misdemeanor complaint against Cuomo has been filed in Albany City Court. As this is a sex crime, a redacted complaint will be available shortly, spokesman Lucien Chalfin added. Cuomo has been charged with forcible touching, according to the independent New York Focus website, which cited information from an unidentified court clerk. If convicted of forcible touching, Cuomo would have to register as a sex offender and a judge would decide on his likely risk of committing another sex crime. If he were deemed to pose a moderate or high risk to the community, his photograph, name, address, and other information would be posted online. Soares opened a criminal investigation of Cuomo on August 3rd, shortly after State Attorney General Letitia James detailed the alleged groping incident in a report that accused the then governor of sexually harassing 11 women, including 9 current or former state workers. 6 days later, Brittany Comizio, an administrative assistant in the governor's office, went public in a tearful interview on CBS This Morning, during which she said, Cuomo put his hand up my blouse and cupped my breast over my bra inside Albany's executive mansion in November. The governor needs to be held accountable, Comizio, 33, said. Oh, that's a big age gap, 63 and 33? Is that how old he is? 30 years? Gross. What he did to me was a crime. He broke the law. Cuomo, who has repeatedly denied any wrongdoing, announced his resignation the next day, saying that my instinct is to fight, but the best way I can help now is if I step aside. Cuomo's looming arrest is believed to be the reason that James decided to tell a key union leader on Wednesday that she'll launch a campaign for governor shortly, the source briefed on the matter said. James is expected to announce her primary challenge of Governor Kathy Hochul ahead of Cuomo's arrest, the source briefed on the matter said. On August 30th, Comizio spent several hours being interviewed by investigators after law enforcement officials issued several subpoenas related to her allegations, Albany County Sheriff Craig Apple has said. The alleged groping of Camizio is the most serious incident detailed in James's report, which also accused Cuomo of grabbing women's butts and running his hand across the belly of a female state trooper assigned to his protective detail. New York's penal law makes it illegal to forcibly touch a person's intimate parts to gratify sexual desire or to degrade or abuse a victim. The crime of forcible touching is a misdemeanor with a maximum sentence of 1 year in jail. In addition to Soros, 4 other New York district attorneys in Manhattan, as well as in Nassau, Westchester, and Oswego counties, have said they're investigating various allegations contained in James's report. So, looks like he may be getting in trouble. That would be nice, obviously. Um, so Facebook. Let's talk about Facebook real quick because we all hate Facebook, right? So, of course, Mark Zuckerberg is trying to distance himself from the controversy of Facebook. So, he's trying to rebrand the company, calling it Meta Platforms Inc. So he announced this on October 28th that the company's name has been changed to Meta Platforms Inc., or Meta for short. The most widely used global signature app will continue to be known as Facebook, making it Meta's only service with the original name. Skeptics exploded in outrage after Zuckerberg revealed his ambitious intentions for his new virtual and augmented reality platform dubbed the Metaverse via Facebook Connect. The company has also replaced its corporate sign, which previously featured a picture of a thumbs up outside its California headquarters, with its new logo, a blue infinity sign. When Facebook was first introduced to the public in 2004, most users saw it as a great way to connect with friends and family through pictures and friendly dialogue. However, after the 2020 election, numerous lawsuits and constant censorships of multiple users, political groups, and even presidents, Facebook lost almost all credibility. Yeah, I'll tell you what I miss because Facebook, I remember when Facebook used to be for college students only, and you had to have a college email address to be able to sign up for Facebook, which is the only way I was able to get into it. And then, of course, he realized if he let everybody get on it, he'd make more money. I miss MySpace. I loved MySpace. It was a great place. You could pick your top 8 friends for the week, the month, whatever. You get mad at someone, you take them off the top 8 list. That was up to you. But let me take you back even further than MySpace. And I would like to know, and you can leave it in the comments, you can email it, you can message me, I don't care. Find me on Instagram. I want to know who remembers Zynga and who had a Zynga account. And did you put music on the account whenever someone uh, went to your page? Did it play a song? Did you have a wallpaper? Did you have a theme? Did you pick out one of the Zynga themes that you could use? I miss Zynga so, so, so much. I have great memories of that platform. Oh my goodness, and I wish I could get back on it, but I doubt I can. Anyway, please let me know who remembers Zynga. Uh, I'd like to not feel alone in that. In December 2020, the U.S. government and 48 states and districts sued Facebook, accusing the tech giant of abusing its market power in social networking to crush smaller competitors. All of these failures occurred as a result of Mark Zuckerberg's leadership and guidance. Now, in light of the company's several mishaps, Zuckerberg has decided to introduce Facebook to gain a better public outlook on the company. We're seen as a social media company, but in our DNA, we are a company that builds technology to connect people, and the metaverse is the next frontier, just like social networking was when we got started, Zuckerberg explained in his virtual speech. Facebook was born at a specific time and place, a college campus, the web. It was what we could build at the time to put people back into our experience of technology, but connecting people was always much bigger. Zuckerberg's bizarre announcement to the public was met with heavy criticism on social media, with everything from memes to politicians bashing the company's decision. So AOC tweeted, Meta as in we are a cancer to democracy metastasizing into a global surveillance and propaganda machine for boosting authoritarian regimes and destroying civil society for profit. I hope she knows that that is backing her regime and agenda. I know she's trying to complain about Republicans, but that's not who it is. Then you have Twitter safety. The only meta we acknowledge is this. And I don't know what that means. So, yeah. Um, Brandon Tatum, founder and CEO of Tatum Report, also commented on the issue on his channel, calling the new name super weird. Quote, I used to always see the Jetsons and hear conspiracy theorists talk about a lot of different stuff, but I'm really starting to get concerned on what direction we are really going. How much information does Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, how much information do they have? I would agree with that. They have a lot. I mean, we freely gave it to them. It's nobody else's fault. It's our own. We allowed it because we wanted to move forward with technology and progress. So it's kind of society in general's fault that we're here. But continuing on with Facebook, there were papers that revealed that the platform knew that it was being used for human trafficking. So, people are rightfully losing their minds and calling for major change after it was revealed that Facebook knew for years that its platforms were actively used for human trafficking and smuggling and did nothing to stop it. In fact, it wasn't until Apple threatened to pull the apps for both Facebook and Instagram from the App Store in 2019 that action was immediately taken. Employees scrambled to bring the sites into compliance, removing inappropriate content and instilling emergency policy changes to avoid what they described as a potentially severe business consequence. Unfortunately, this wasn't a new or one time occurrence. Um, so Eric Garland tweets out about Apple, you know, going to get rid of Facebook and Instagram because they're aiding and abetting human trafficking, trading, and selling women in the Middle East. And then he says, spoiler alert, Facebook knows it's in the human trafficking business, doesn't appear to much care. And if we read this tweet here, it says, but Facebook's crackdown seems to have had a limited effect. Even today, a quick search for Kadima or maids in Arabic will bring up accounts featuring posed photographs of Africans and South Asians with ages and prices listed next to their images. That's even as the Philippines government has a team of workers that do nothing but scour Facebook posts each day to try and protect desperate job seekers from criminal gangs and unscrupulous recruiters using the site. We even have, I didn't want to bring that up. We even have this one here where it says, while the Mideast remains a crucial source of work for women in Asia and Africa hoping to provide for their families back home, Facebook acknowledged some countries across the region have especially egregious human rights issues when it comes to laborers' protection. In our investigation, domestic workers frequently complain to their recruitment agencies of being locked in their homes, starved, forced to extend their contracts indefinitely, unpaid, and repeatedly sold to other employers without their consent. One Facebook document read. In response, agencies commonly told them to be more agreeable. That's crazy. So, beginning October 22nd, 17 news outlets were given access to an over 10,000 page document called the Facebook Papers or Facebook Files, released by Frances Haugen. The documents have revealed that Facebook had been aware of the problem since at least 2018 and did nothing to stop it until Apple's ultimatum. Facebook documents describe women trafficked in this way being subjected to physical and sexual abuse, being deprived of food and pay, and having their travel documents confiscated so they can't escape. Earlier this year, an internal Facebook report noted that gaps still exist in our detection of on platform entities engaged in domestic servitude and detailed how the company's platforms are used to recruit, buy, and sell what Facebook's documents call domestic servants. Tennessee Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn is appalled by social media's invasive nature to begin with, having already been on top of TikTok for their insane data collection. She wasn't pleased when she learned about Facebook's negligence of human trafficking. She said, we're very concerned about how these human traffickers work on social media to connect with women, to market services, and when we look both in the US and across the world, we see how social media platforms, Facebook, TikTok, are being used to recruit people and also for human traffickers to sell their services. Blackburn says Facebook knew young women were recruited into forced domestic servitude but did nothing to stop it. She added, what they are not doing is going after criminals, using them as a storefront to run their business. Facebook needs to be certain that they are policing what they call the new public square. As the documents are being digested, bombshells continue to be dropped, revealing the heinous actions of the social media giant. This latest one is not going to be easily forgotten. I'd like to see those documents. No, I don't care about this. I would, though. I would like to see those documents. Um, but I don't know if we have access to them. I don't see a link to get to them. I'll have to look that up later. So the last thing I want to cover before I go, we know that Kyle Rittenhouse's trial is coming up starting tomorrow, and I'm really going to pay attention to this because I want to know what's going on. But Keyt.com or Keyt, Keyt was easier to say. So an update on Kyle Rittenhouse. Here it says the Kyle Rittenhouse case returned to court Friday as a Kenosha judge held a key hearing. The Antioch teenager is accused of killing two men and wounding a third during a protest following the shooting of Jacob Blake in Kenosha last year. Paradise Square musical set to debut in Chicago. What? What does that have to do with anything? Prosecutors argue that Rittenhouse traveled about 20 miles to Kenosha, Wisconsin from his home in Antioch, Illinois, with an AR-15 rifle during the riots following the police shooting of Jacob Black. So let me make corrections. He did go from Antioch to Kenosha because he worked in Kenosha as a lifeguard. He wasn't just there randomly, he worked there. He did not travel across state lines with that AR 15. He was given that gun when he arrived at the business where the owner gave him the gun so he could help protect the business so they didn't receive any more damage than they had already had done to them the previous night. He did not cross state lines. The way that they word it makes it sound like he did, but he did not. There were other chaos tourists like the defendant who were drawn like a moth to the flame to our community, prosecutor Thomas Binger said. The Kenosha County judge denied the prosecution's effort to bring in certain evidence against Rittenhouse because he believes it's not relevant. That evidence included a video taken 15 days before the protest shootings in 2020. Prosecutors claim it shows Rittenhouse outside a drugstore watching people he believed were shoplifting and commenting that he wished he had his rifle so he could shoot them. The judge also won't let the prosecution tell the jury about Rittenhouse visiting a Racine bar with the Proud Boys. The judge also isn't letting evidence of a fight Rittenhouse was involved back in July of 2020. I'm virtually certain that if I admitted this kind of evidence, it would be a reversal if there were a conviction, said Judge Bruce Schroeder. Prosecutors said Rittenhouse went to Kenosha after seeing a post on social media for militia to come and protect Kenosha businesses from protesters. Defense attorneys do not deny Rittenhouse fired at the victims, but plan to argue he fired in self-defense. This isn't a whodunit, and it wasn't an accident. It is an intentional act with an affirmative defense attached to it, defense attorney Mark Richards said. Prosecutors want to leak Rittenhouse to conservative groups like the Proud Boys, who oppose the activists who were behind the rioting. Many of those groups have donated money for his defense. There must be evidence by a preponderance that on August 25th, 2020, Rittenhouse was either a member of the Proud Boys or had loyalties to that group, defense attorney Corey uh, Shirofsky said. The defendant came to our community, Binger said. He's not a resident. He's underage. He's out after curfew. He's armed with an illegal weapon. Okay, first of all, like I said, he belonged to that community because he worked in it. He was not carrying that gun illegally because he did not cross state lines. And in Illinois, I mean, is it Wisconsin? Where's Kenosha? Wisconsin. In Wisconsin, the law is stop. The law is that a 17-year-old can carry a long rifle gun, which an AR-15 is a long rifle. It's a long barrel, not a handgun, a long barrel. Wasn't illegal. Defense attorneys for Rittenhouse also said, aside from their claims of self-defense, there's no evidence the shootings were racially motivated because all the victims were white. Jury selection begins November 1st. So, let me just say this, and I doubt anybody connected to this family, Rittenhouse's family, or this case will hear this. My prayers go out to Kyle Rittenhouse. He does not deserve what he is going through right now. The video clearly shows that he did this all in self-defense. The first guy he shot was trespassing on private property and trying to take the gun away from Kyle, giving him a fear that if he got that gun from him, he could injure him severely or kill him, which is why he shot. He ran because he was being chased by a mob. When he fell, he was struck with a skateboard that could have injured him very badly. So he shot that guy, and then the third guy was running towards him with a pistol pointed at him. So he shot him to defend himself there. Absolute nonsense that this is even happening. But my prayers go out to Kyle Rittenhouse and that he gets the justice that he deserves, which is full acquittal. And also, he needs to sue and he needs to be given money for malicious prosecution. Period. That is what needs to happen in the Kyle Rittenhouse case. And I pray that it does. Thank you guys for joining me today. I hope you had a good time with me. I hope you learned a lot of new stuff. A lot of things going on in the world all the time. There's never enough time to go over everything, all the news. But I do my best, and I thank you for taking the time to listen and support me because I really appreciate it. Go to my link tree. You can find all of my social media. Again, let me know who remembers Zanga. I really want to know. If you're a blind viewer, you can go to Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Anchor, subscribe to the show, leave me a review. That would be really awesome. And if you're on YouTube, please like and share the video. You can leave me a comment, and I always get back to you. And subscribe to the channel. Most important thing you can do. I really need to build up this channel, and I really appreciate if you would subscribe and also hit the notification bell so you know every time I upload a new video. And once again, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and God bless.